computer. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Students, you have already studied the topic of aneurysms in your lectures. Today, we will again do aneurysms. It's just for your revision. So, what are aneurysms? Aneurysm is defined as a localized dilation, at least 50% larger than an adjacent normal portion of the same artery. As I have already told you in previous lecture, that as you can see, this is the normal lumen of the vessel, and the vessel has dilated from this portion, and the dilation has more than 50% of the original lumen diameter. So this can be labeled as aneurysm. This is another aneurysm. In this picture, you can see that this is the normal lumen of the vessel, and the vessel has this localized dilation, and the dilation is more than 50% of the original diameter of the vessel. So this enlargement or dilation of the vessel is called aneurysm. So basically, aneurysm has a neck. An aneurysm which is secular has a neck. This is the neck of the aneurysm. This is the sac of the aneurysm. And this is dome. That is the most prominence of the aneurysm is called dome of the aneurysm. So aneurysm is defined as a localized dilation. This is a localized dilation, at least 50% larger than an adjacent normal portion of the same artery. So this is the adjacent portion of the same artery. Or you can say aneurysm is focal dilation greater than 1.5 times the normal diameter. So 1.5 times the normal diameter, this is way beyond 1.5 times the normal diameter. So this 1.5 times and 50% larger, these both of these things are one and the same thing. This is given in percentage, that at least dilation of more than 50%, or you can say that 1.5 times larger, 1.5 times the normal diameter of the vessel. So these are one and the same thing. Now, we have to differentiate aneurysm from ectasia. Ectasia is arterial dilation less than 50% above normal. So whenever there is dilation that is less than 50% dilation of the artery or a vessel from its original normal diameter, we will label it as ectasia. So basically ectasia will develop into aneurysm. When it's dilated more than 50%, it becomes an aneurysm. So what is arteriomegaly? As the name indicates, arterio means artery, megaly something that is quite big. So this is basically diffuse arterial enlargement involving several arterial segments with an increase in diameter greater than 50% above normal. So aneurysm and arteriomegaly have the same criteria of diameter greater than 50%. You can see arteriomegaly should also be more than 50% above normal, as well as aneurysm has the same criteria. But the difference is that aneurysm is localized dilation and arteriomegaly is diffuse arterial enlargement. For example, if this aorta has diffuse enlargement throughout the length, then we will label it as arteriomegaly, or the aorta has diffuse arterial enlargement involving several arterial segments. For example, if the pre-renal segment is enlarged as well as post-renal segment and another portion from thoracic region, so we will label it as arteriomegaly, that the whole artery has got enlarged. Types of aneurysms. So there are basically many types of aneurysm, or aneurysm can be classified according to various characteristics. So number one, uh, we can divide aneurysm based on wall characteristics. So this, according to wall characteristics, it can be true aneurysm or a false aneurysm. So when we call it a true aneurysm, when the aneurysm, what is aneurysm? It is a localized dilation of the artery. So it will become true when all the layers of the vessel wall are involved. So what are the layers of the vessel wall? The layers of the vessel wall include tunica intima, that is the innermost layer, tunica media, that is the muscular layer of the vessel wall, and tunica adventitia, that is the outermost wall of the artery. So these are the three layers of artery, and when all the layers of the vessel wall are involved, they are called true aneurysm. And false aneurysm or pseudoaneurysm, these are one and the same thing. False or pseudoaneurysm, when we will label it, when all the layers are not involved. The dilation is covered by thick fibrinous cap. Or you can see the dilation is covered by thick fibrinous cap, not by the layer of the vessel. And all the layers of the vessels are not involved. Pseudoaneurysms arise in some conditions. One of the condition is what I am telling you is injury to vessel wall allows blood to escape from vessel into adjacent tissue. As we know, whenever there is penetrating wound or a bullet wound, you can say there will be injury to the vessel wall and blood can extravasate into the surrounding area. So extravasated blood coagulates in that area and becomes a mass. It looks like a mass alongside the vessel. So it becomes a mass alongside the vessel. And this mass of blood, which is also called hematoma, gives the impression that there is an aneurysm. As you can see in this picture, these three are examples of true aneurysm. So aneurysms can be secular type, fusiform, and dissecting. So these are true aneurysm. True aneurysm is that involves all layers of the vessel wall. So in secular type, that is localized dilation of the vessel wall. In this you can see the whole vessel wall has become dilated. All the three layers have become dilated. So this is called this is a true aneurysm. In this, you can also see that there is also localized dilation of the vessel wall and the diameter has increased more than 50% of the normal diameter. This is the normal diameter you can see, and this is increased more than 50%. So, but all the three layers of the vessel wall are involved in this aneurysm. So, this is also example of a true aneurysm. Number third condition in which there is dissecting aneurysm, this also involves all the layers of the vessel. For example, if tunica intima, as you can see in this, tunica intima is damaged, the blood will start pouring into between the vessel wall. You can see this is tunica intima and media and adventitia. At one side there are tunica media and adventitia, and the other side there is tunica intima. And the blood has started seeping through the tunica intima between the tunica intima and tunica media. So the seepage will form a false path that is parallel to the vascular lumen. So this has also involved all the three layers, and this is called dissecting aneurysm. Another condition which we have discussed is a false aneurysm, in which if the vessel wall has got damaged, all the three layers got damaged, and the blood has started, blood has left the vascular compartment and poured into the extravascular compartment. What happens? There will become hematoma and a fibrinous cap will form, and the flowing blood can also pass into this cavity, which gives the appearance of or the impression of an aneurysm. But this type of aneurysm is a false aneurysm, as all the layers of the vessel wall are not dilated. Instead, they are get wounded or they are injured. So this category will not fall in the category of aneurysm. This will be called as false aneurysm or pseudo aneurysm. So types of aneurysm based on location. So we can also divide or classify aneurysms on the basis of location or of their location. If aortic artery is involved, you can say it as aortic aneurysm. Better remember, 3/4 of the aortic aneurysms develop in the part that passes through the abdominal, that is the abdominal aorta. Most of the aneurysms you will find in aorta, in abdominal part. Number 2 is aneurysm that involves carotid artery. So the aneurysm that involves carotid artery is called carotid aneurysm. Carotids are the arteries that supply the head. Cerebral arteries that supply the brain. Aneurysm in this called cerebral aneurysm. Coronary aneurysm, the arteries that supply the heart muscles itself. Femoral artery aneurysms, the arteries that supply the thighs. Popliteal artery aneurysms, better this is a very potent site of developing aneurysm, the popliteal artery. These are the arteries at the back of the knee. Then peripheral arteries can also be involved, such as the arteries of the trunk, arms, and legs. Types of aneurysm based on etiology, the causative agent. We all know that aneurysms are formed due to the weakening of the vessel wall. The place where the vessel wall gets weakened, there will be an outpouching and it will be called an aneurysm. So based on etiology, there can be degenerative aneurysm and so on. We will discuss them one by one. Degenerative aneurysm, degenerative etiology is, if the etiology is degenerative, why there is degeneration of vessel wall, that is leading it to become weakened. The degeneration is called by atherosclerosis and weakening of vessel wall. The atherosclerosis is the main culprit. It is the commonest cause of degeneration of the arterial wall. Number 2 is fibromuscular dysplasia. That also leads to degeneration of the vessels, and this can lead to aneurysm. Another etiology of aneurysms is trauma. Most of the aneurysms that are caused by trauma are false aneurysms. But some true aneurysms can also occur at the site of trauma, where the arterial or the vascular wall has become weakened. But remember, trauma can lead to mostly false aneurysms. Infectious, if the etiology is infectious, for example, in bacterial, fungal, encephalitis infections, the most common bacterial infection is tuberculosis that leads to aneurysms. Then inflammatory etiologies of inflammatory type, for example, in arteritis, that is the inflammation of the arteries. Takayasu's disease, Behçet's disease, Kawasaki, giant cell arteritis, these are all, we have already discussed, these are all vasculitis. These are all types of vasculitis, that is inflammation of the arteries, inflammation of the vessels. So if whenever there is inflammation of the vessel, that can lead to, if it led to resolution by scarring, then the scarred part of the vessel wall is weakened and it can lead to aneurysm. And SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus, in this there is also inflammation of the vessels, and this can lead to aneurysm formation. Congenital causes, it can be idiopathic, internal syndrome, Menkes syndrome, and connective tissue disorders. Beta, these are very important. Connective tissue disorders are very necessary to be memorized in the as an etiological agent of aneurysms. So connective tissue disorders such as Marfan syndrome and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, the patients mostly have aneurysms. Congenital weakness of the cerebral plexus can lead to berry aneurysm that is in the cerebral plexus. So berry aneurysm. And there are some familial causes of aneurysms are also present. If in families, the aneurysm runs in families. So aneurysm can also be classified based on morphology. The fusiform is the tube-like aneurysm. You can see. You can see in this is the tube-like dilation of the vessel wall, that the vessel has equally dilated from all the sides. The diameter has increased from that particular area. So the tube-like dilation is called fusiform aneurysm. This is type of true aneurysm. Number 2 is secular, that is round aneurysm. There is spherical and only involves part of the vessel wall. This is secular. This involves only part of the vessel wall. This is also secular. This involves only part of the vessel wall. And this is localized dilation. And it is round. Secular is round. Then dissecting aneurysm. The separation of the layers of the wall of the aorta. This is the separation of the wall of the layers of the vessel is called dissecting aneurysm. Cylindroid aneurysm and berry aneurysms, as I have already told you, that berry aneurysms occur in cerebral plexus of in brain. Now, we will discuss abdominal aortic aneurysm. Abdominal aortic aneurysms are very common in males. The ratio is 1:4. That is quite high ratio for males. White men are mostly affected. Prevalence increases with age. For example, the older than 60 years of age population is more prevalent to get abdominal aortic aneurysm, and the prevalence of aneurysms increase with age. Aneurysms, abdominal aortic aneurysms can be classified into suprarenal, juxtarenal, and infrarenal. As the name indicates, suprarenal aneurysm that is above the level of renal arteries. Above the level of renal arteries is called suprarenal aneurysm. Juxtarenal, that is within 1 centimeter of the renal arteries. Within 1 centimeter of the portion of the aortic wall, if involved, is called juxtarenal. And this is the aneurysm that is below the level of renal arteries is called infrarenal aneurysm. So these are the aneurysm which is shown in this diagram is infrarenal aneurysm. So what are the causes that lead to abdominal aortic aneurysm? There can be atherosclerosis. We have already studied that this is the commonest cause of abdominal aortic aneurysm is atherosclerosis, which leads to weakening of the vessel wall. Cystic medial necrosis, aortitis, which syphilis causes aortitis. Collagen vascular diseases such as in Marfan syndrome and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, abdominal aortic aneurysms can be seen. In tuberculous infections, better remember whenever you say infectious cause, infectious etiology of aneurysms, you should know the name of tuberculosis in this. And the familial causes, the aneurysms, abdominal aortic aneurysms can be familial also. So aortic dissection. What is aortic dissection? Aortic dissection occurs when the inner layer of the aorta separates, or you can say it tears from the middle layer of the aorta, allowing blood to push between these layers. Or you can say separating or pushing or tearing the vessel wall itself. The vessel wall is being teared. One portion stays at one side and the other portion of the vessel wall stays on the other side, and the blood starts to pour between the vessel wall. So separating or dissecting the middle layer of the wall from the still in contact outer layer. As you can see in this diagram, the inner layer, tunica intima, is damaged, the blood has started outpouring from intima into the between the vessel wall, and you can see the blood has pooled over here. In this diagram, you can see that the blood has taken path from tunica intima or a tear from tunica intima and has extravasated into between the vessel wall, tearing it apart, and this tearing continues. It can lead to further tearing of the vessel wall. The blood pressure can lead to further tearing of the vessel wall. And as you can see, the microscopic appearance or the pathophysiological etiology is this, that intimal tear leads to allowing of blood to enter into the between the vessel wall layers, and this blood is starting to separate the tunica media. So as a result, a new false channel forms in the wall of the aorta. As you can see in this picture, this is tunica media. So in between the tunica media, there is a channel formed, and as you can see, these are blood clots. So morphologically, if the cause is atherosclerosis, which has led to weakening of the vessel wall and led to the formation of this aneurysm, then you can find lipid deposits, foam cells, cholesterol clefts, and eosinophilic debris. Calcification can also be found, neovascularization in that area, and an inflammatory reaction and hemorrhage can be seen. Sometimes limited to tunica intima or exceeding into the tunica media. So you can see the foam cells, you can see lipid deposits in the vessel wall, you can see the inflammatory reaction, inflammatory cells inside the vessel wall. So if the cause is atherosclerosis, the morphology will be like this: lipid deposits, foam cells, cholesterol clefts, eosinophilic debris, and calcification and inflammatory reaction, and even hemorrhage. The inflammatory reaction consists primarily of lymphocytes and macrophages, sometimes with foreign body giant cell formation around cholesterol clefts. What are giant cells? Giant cells are the when the macrophages accumulate or they join together to form a big cell which is multinucleated. So this is called a giant cell. So sometimes the giant cells are also formed or also seen in the site of atherosclerosis around cholesterol clefts. Neutrophils, EOs, and plasma cells may also be present. All coronary aneurysms, all the coronary aneurysms have destruction of tunica media, which is thinned or no longer identifiable between the tunica intima and tunica adventitia. The normal tunica media is replaced by hyalinized connective tissue, and the destruction of the internal elastic lamina sometimes obscure the borders between diseased tunica media and tunica intima. You can see this is normal aortic, normal ascending thoracic aorta. You can see there are so good elastic lamina, but when there is aneurysm, the elastic fibers get destroyed and the thinning out of elastic lamina, which leads to the weakening of the vessel wall. These are elastic laminas. You can see this has got destroyed, and in this picture you can also see the fragmentation of the elastic fibers. So how does patient with aneurysm present to you? Mostly, beta, remember 75% of the patients, they are asymptomatic, asymptomatically carrying aneurysm. So aneurysms are mostly incidental finding, but sometimes they are self-felt lumps. For example, if the aneurysm is in popliteal artery, the patient can self-palpate behind the knee and he knows that there is some dilation, and the aneurysm is self-felt, and the patient himself presents to the doctor saying that there is a lump behind my knee that pulsates when, you know, the aneurysm pulsates when blood with every systolic, you know, the push of from the heart. When does aneurysms become symptomatic? Sometimes they become symptomatic without rupture, and sometimes aneurysms become symptomatic, or the patient gets to know about the aneurysm when it gets ruptured. So there can be two types of symptoms. For example, in symptomatic patients, that in which there is no rupture still in the no rupture of aneurysm, there can be vague abdominal and back discomfort. In case of abdominal aortic aneurysms, there can be pain due to erosion of vertebra. Due to that aneurysm, the erosion of vertebra has happened, and the patient presents with pain of the vertebra, with infection in the aneurysm, or the large aneurysm such as that causing GI symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, indigestion. So these are symptomatic aneurysm. Or rupture of aneurysm. With rupture of aneurysm, the patients can also present. With rupture, there are more severe symptoms. So what are the symptoms? The patient can present to you with syncope, back and abdominal pain, that is ripping or tearing pain, or the maybe atypical pain such as groin, flank, or hip pain or bladder pain. So there can be nausea, vomiting, tenesmus. Cullen's sign, that is periumbilical ecchymosis, is present with accumulation of blood inside abdominal cavity. There is a sign, there is ecchymosis, that is periumbilical, and you can see when you examine the patient, there is very striking, you know, the finding that ये लिखा रहा है your internet connection is unstable, इसकी कह रहा है. There is a striking finding while physically examining the patient's abdomen that periumbilical ecchymosis is present, and this is called Cullen's sign. चल रही है. There can be another sign of a hemorrhage into the abdominal cavity, that is Gray Turner sign. This is the sign in which you get flank ecchymosis. The ecchymosis can be seen in the flanks of the patient, or the patient can present to you in shock and sudden death. Shock, why shock? There is so much hemorrhage that the patient is going into hypovolemic shock, and the sudden death can also happen with rupture of the abdominal aortic aneurysm. So what investigations are required? Abdominal or chest x-ray, what does they tell you? Abdominal or chest x-ray can only find the if the calcification is around aneurysm, and you can pick on x-ray only when there is calcification around the aneurysm. Ultrasound or echocardiography tells you the size of an aortic aneurysm. CT scan tells you the size and shape of the aneurysm, as well as if there is any infection going on at the site of aneurysm. What does MRI tell? MRI detects aneurysms and pinpoints their size and the exact location. Angiography tells the amount of damage and blockage in the blood vessels. What are the risk factors? Why does a healthy individual get aneurysm? Why? What are the risk factors? So the risk factors includes the male gender. We have already seen the ratio is 1:4 for males. The age, as the age progresses above 60 years of age, there is more chance of getting aneurysm. Smoking, what does smoking do? Smoking damage and weakens the wall of the aorta, and the weakening of the vessel wall can lead to development of the aneurysm. Family history, we have already seen some cases are familial. History of aneurysms in the arteries of the legs. If there is personal history of aneurysms, the patient is prone to get aneurysm at another site. There are certain diseases and conditions that weaken the wall of the aorta, such as hypertension. Hypertension weakens the walls of the aorta. such as atherosclerosis that leads to the weakening of the walls of the vessels, and this can lead to aneurysm formation. Having a bicuspid aortic valve can raise the risk of having thoracic aortic aneurysm. A bicuspid aortic valve has 2 leaflets instead of the typical 3 leaflets. Another cause that can be car accidents or trauma that can injure the arteries and increase the risk for aneurysm. What are the complications of aneurysm? The complication of a silent aneurysm can be a rupture. Aneurysm can rupture. There can be thromboembolic events at the site of aneurysm. There can be a thrombus formation in this area, and that can also embolize to other part of the body and cause thromboembolic events. And there can be compression of adjacent structures, as we have seen that the large aortic aneurysms can lead to the vertebral pain by compressing the vertebrae, and also can cause GI symptoms. If in case of large aneurysms, they can cause GI symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, indigestion. So beta, this is all for today. Thank you so much. I hope you got the topic very well. Thank you.